Hi everyone! Today's video is going to be a bit more technical than normal. It's going to be about the best cameras for vlogging. So if you're new to my channel, I'm Jojo. I like to talk about blogging and I like to help bloggers grow their blogs and also just live a life that's much more simpler and much more fun to live with. So if that's your kind of thing, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. So when it comes to creating videos for YouTube or just for vlogging in general, there are specific features you want to look for when it comes to buying your camera. Some are going to be catered more for beginners and others are going to be a bit more advanced. So there are 6 things I like to look for in a good vlogging camera. The first is that it's compact. I want to make sure it's pocketable, it can easily fit in my purse. Because if it's too big or it's too heavy, I'm not likely to bring that camera with me and I'm not likely to create content. The second is that it has a quick autofocus that detects your face. So no matter how fast you're moving the camera, if it's like a little bit more further or like closer to you, you want to make sure it's still going to be focused on your face, specifically your eyes. The next is that it shoots well in low lighting conditions, because when you're vlogging, you're not setting up the lights, you're not always in a very well lit room, so you want to make sure that your camera can shoot very well in low lighting conditions. And what I mean by that is that your photos are not going to look grainy or really noisy in photos. What you want to look for in a camera is that it has as less noise as possible when you're shooting in dark conditions. Sometimes it's in a dark room, sometimes you're shooting at night, sometimes you're shooting at a dimly lit restaurant. So you want to make sure your camera performs well in conditions like that. The fourth feature I look for is that it has a flip screen so that you can position yourself in the camera, make sure you're going to be like here on this side or right here in the middle. I'm like looking at my flip screen here too, or here in this side, or maybe you want to cut off like your head and talk like this. Maybe you want to talk like this. You want to be able to frame yourself in a camera. Otherwise, if you think you're in the video but you're not, then it's just not going to be helpful, especially since shooting selfie mode like this or shooting yourself is much more prominent and applicable in today's vlogs. The fifth thing I like to look for is that it has a really good microphone, so it can record really great audio. What could be really annoying in watching really high quality videos is if the audio doesn't match. Suppose the audio sounds muffled or it sounds really scratchy or it just doesn't sound clear at all. You want to make sure you have good audio. And the last thing I look for, which is what most cameras have today, is that it shoots at least 1080p HD. Shooting at 4K is not really required, but it's always nice to have, especially as technology keeps updating. Monitors are now switching from 1080p to 4K. It's not a standard yet, but it is heading in that direction. So before I get on to the best cameras for vlogging, I first want to say, do you actually need a vlogging camera? And I say this because it's not completely necessary. And if you're the kind of person who thinks you need to have the perfect camera before you start vlogging, it doesn't matter what camera you have, you just have to work with what you've got. That said, it also depends on what you're shooting and what your current smartphone is. With a lot of smartphones these days, you don't even need a separate camera. Especially if what you're shooting is really simple, it's just sitting down in front of a camera and talking. So before you consider buying a new camera, I would consider first if you really want to buy a new one. And if you can get away without having to buy a new camera, then go for it. One of my golden rules when it comes to blogging is that I will just use what I have, start with what I have, and just bootstrap my way into a better camera. But if your gut is telling you to buy a new camera, then here are the best vlogging cameras. Okay, so this first one is going to be for the beginner on a budget, and it's the Canon Powershot SX740. So starting off with the pros, it shoots 4K, and although it looks like a simple point and shoot camera, it has both auto and manual exposure controls. It has a long battery life, which is very important, and overall just shoots really great photo and video quality. The cons is that it doesn't shoot great in low light, and there's no viewfinder. So suppose you are shooting on a really bright day and you can't really see the detail on your screen, you're just gonna have to deal with it. And the lens for this camera is 24mm to 960mm, which is almost unheard of. The quality isn't that great when it's zoomed all the way in. And there's also no inputs for an external microphone, which might not even be important at all or something to look for if you're a complete beginner and you're not looking for having accessories for your camera. You just want like a good all-in-one camera that will work for you. If you already have a great camera on your smartphone to begin with, I would just use that instead. But if the camera on your phone isn't that great, then you can go ahead and buy this one. And usually cameras that are more on the cheaper end, they don't normally perform well on low light. So if you do have this camera, I would avoid shooting outside at night or in dimly lit rooms. It would be better to shoot during the day and right by a window. So this camera will meet most vloggers' needs, especially for beginners. It's compact, easy to travel with, shoots great photo and video as long as it's not in low light situations, and overall a really good value for your money. So right now on Amazon you can get this camera for $399 US. So all links to the cameras that I mentioned in this video will be in the description box below, and all the prices I mentioned are also going to be current as of today. Alright, so the next camera is for the beginner with no budget, and this is the Canon G7X Mark III. So starting off with the pros, it shoots 4K videos. It has manual exposure controls. Another few pros is that it shoots well in low light. It has great face detection for autofocus, and it has an external microphone input. But a negative to this is that it doesn't have a hot shoe input on top, meaning you're gonna have to build some sort of rig in order to use your external microphone. Another con is that it has no viewfinder, and 4K video is only available in auto mode. So you can't use 4K video in manual mode or even semi-manual or semi-automatic mode. And when you're shooting on automatic mode, sometimes it's going to overexpose your shot, meaning your photos are going to be a little bit too bright. So for years, the Canon G7 Mark III has been the ultimate go-to vlogging camera. It's very easy to use, it's great for beginners, it's compact and has great video features. And Canon always updates this camera with a newer version, and right now this version is the latest. So overall, it's a great vlogging camera. It's easy to shoot, shoots high quality videos and photo, and if that's all you're asking for and you're not looking for any bells and whistles, then this is the camera to use. So right now on Amazon, it is $749. So this next camera is going to be for the vlogger who's not quite a beginner, but also not quite advanced. So it's also going to be for the advanced vlogger who's tired of their equipment, carrying around the heavy gear, and just wants something simple to use. And this is the power and pocketable Sony ZV-1. So the pros is that it shoots 4K video and shoots raw photo. It has one of the best autofocus technology. This is what Sony is known for. It detects your eye, and no matter where you move in the camera, your face will always be in focus. It also has a high quality microphone, but if you're looking for something with a little bit more clarity, you can also plug in an external microphone into it. And the camera has a hot shoe input. So this is a step better than the Canon G7X Mark III. This camera also has great ergonomics for vlogging when you're holding it on your hand, and the Sony Zeiss lens shoots great quality photo and video and is very sharp. So the cons for this camera is that when it comes to video stabilization, it's okay. It's not the best, but it's also not bad. So if you're looking for something very smooth, this isn't the camera for you. Another con is that there's no viewfinder, and the plastic design of the camera doesn't really feel that durable. And the last con is that the battery life isn't great. So if you plan to shoot a lot of video, especially at 4K, you're gonna wanna pack extra batteries with you, which in general, you wanna do that anyway when you're vlogging, especially if you're gonna be traveling or out about in the day. You wanna make sure that you always pack extra batteries and extra memory cards. Alright, so this camera is also popular in the YouTube community. It's a spin-off of Sony's RX camera series, which is what I suggest in my previous videos over here. But this time they made this camera specifically for vloggers who want to upgrade from their smartphones and beginner point and shoot cameras. But they still want to keep it compact with very minimal accessories. And if you're wondering about which camera to attach to the cameras, especially if one of the cameras that you want has an external microphone input, then I would highly recommend the Rode Video Micro microphone. You've probably seen a lot of YouTubers use this if you've watched their camera setup. It's what I use too. It's what I'm currently using on my camera right now. So if you want to listen for the clarity, you can go ahead and put on headphones and just listen to my voice and see if it's something that you're looking for. And if you're wondering which camera I use, I'm going to be mentioning it later in this video. Alright, so on Amazon you can get the Sony ZV-1 for $748. So it's the same price as the Canon G7 Mark III. And you can get the Rode Video Micro microphone for $59. Alright, so the next camera is going to be for the minimalist who just wants to keep things as simple as possible. And we touched this already, but it's just gonna be the smartphone that you have. So the pros to using your current smartphone as your vlogging camera is that it's pocketable. It's already always with you. It's very easy to use. It's as compact as it gets because you don't need an additional camera. And because you're not getting an additional camera, you don't have to learn how to use it. And there are already so many vlogging accessories just for using your phone. And one of the negatives is that it can stifle your creativity if you're looking for a camera with manual settings. And if you think you can't shoot high quality vlogs with your smartphone, then you should watch this video. This guy teaches you how to shoot with your smartphone and how to create really cinematic shots. And at the end of the day, it's not about the camera you're using, it's how you're using it. So don't think you can't create really great videos with just a smartphone. And if you're wondering what are great smartphone cameras, currently it's going to be the iPhone 12 Pro, the Samsung Galaxy Note 20, and the Huawei P40 Pro. So these phones are always competing with each other in terms of cameras, and I'm not going to be going into the details of each phone here, especially since people have their own preference for Apple and Android, but I'll leave a link down below that compares the video and photo quality of all three cameras in the link in my description box. So this next camera is going to be for the travel adventurist, and it's the GoPro Hero 9 Black. So it shoots with 5K video, and it shoots slow-mo up to 240 frames per second, which is very, very slow. It also has a full color front display camera, so it's great for selfie mode. Previous GoPros didn't have this before, so now it does. It has a great battery life and has plenty of accessories to accommodate a travel and adventure lifestyle. And it's just so small, it's very tiny. It also has this thing called Hyper Smooth 3.0, which means your video footage will look smooth no matter what, no matter like how jaggedy you are or how crazy or you're gonna go bike riding, it's gonna be very smooth still. Cons for this camera is that you're stuck at wide angle. So if you plan to zoom into the photo, it might not be that great or the quality might decline. And by zoom, I mean by zooming into the video itself after you're done filming. So even though this GoPro camera is smaller than all the cameras on this list, it's still just a little bit bigger than the GoPro cameras before it. It's also not that great in low light situations. And the touchscreen display in the back is alright. You might need to press a little bit harder. And this last negative is applicable if you have the GoPro Hero 8, is that shooting 4K hasn't had that much improvement. So if you have the GoPro Hero 8, I don't think there's any need to upgrade into this one. So for obvious reasons, this camera is very different than all the other cameras in this list, and it's really catered to a specific vlogger. So if you're a backpacker, an adventure junkie, or both, then this is a camera for you. So right now you can get it on Amazon for $446. And this last camera is for the advanced vlogger who wants full creative control. And this is the Panasonic Lumix GH5. So it shoots 4K. It has an external microphone input and a hot shoe input, very important. Colors look much richer on this camera, but also still neutral. So if you want to color grade your videos, then you have a really great base to work off of. It has a great battery life, great ergonomics, has a weather sealed body, so whether you're shooting in the rain, as long as it's not too rainy, shooting in the snow, or you have sand around you, or it's just very dusty and windy wherever you're shooting, you're gonna be fine. And it has a viewfinder. This is like the only camera on this list that has a viewfinder. Cons is that the autofocus on this camera is just a little bit slower, especially compared to the Sony ZV-1. But when you're shooting with a camera and you wanna have full creative control, you would typically shoot with manual focus, so this might not even be a concern for you. And of course, a very obvious con is that it's not pocketable. It's not going to fit in your pocket. It might not fit in a purse, especially if it's very small. So this isn't a great option for you if you're looking for something compact and very travel friendly. So of course, this camera is going to be for the ones who don't mind carrying a slightly larger camera with a lens or two, and maybe even a tripod. So I mentioned this exact camera in my previous camera post last year, and it's still on this list this year. So I don't have this camera, but I have the previous version of it, which is the Panasonic Lumix GH4. And speaking from experience, the quality of this camera is like very amazing. It's so sharp. The colors look really good. And this camera is actually what a lot of filmmakers use to shoot short films. And the GH5 is what the cameraman used when he used to be a TV host. And he always raved about how great this camera was. So if you're like me, where you're a photographer at heart, then it's going to be very important for you to have full creative control when it comes to video. So this camera is going to be a great option for you if you don't want to be carrying a heavy SLR. Just know that the sensor for this camera is micro four thirds, so there's going to be a crop compared to a typical SLR, which might be maybe the one you're using as full frame or an APS-C sensor. Which, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then this isn't the camera for you. So right now on Amazon, you can get the camera for $1,297. And if you can get the GH4 as a new camera, I would just get that. I got this camera like 5 or 6 years ago, and it still performs very well. I can definitely speak to how weather sealed it is. In my Siargao video, I didn't even have a waterproof bag and I brought on the boat with me. It would get wet. I feel bad for how bad I treated this camera. It's still working perfectly, just as perfect as the day I first bought it. So just to wrap up, these are the best cameras for vlogging. For the beginner on a budget, it's a Canon Powershot SX740. For the beginner with no budget, it's the Canon G7X Mark III. And then for the vlogger who's not quite a beginner, but also not quite advanced, and also for the advanced vlogger who's tired of carrying their equipment and just wants to keep things simple, it's the Sony ZV-1. And for the minimalist who just wants to keep things simple, it's your current smartphone. And if you want to know some 3 great smartphones with great cameras, it's the iPhone Pro 12, the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Plus, and the Huawei P40 Pro. For the travel adventurous, it's going to be the GoPro Hero 9 Black. And for the advanced vlogger who wants full creative control, it's a Panasonic Lumix GH5. So if you are watching this video like 6 months from now or further down the line, then the cameras right now might actually be cheaper. And this will go for the same camera posts I made in my previous videos. So if you want to find out more cameras for content creating, whether it's for photo or for videos, then I'll link down similar posts, similar videos that I've made in the description box below. And even though these videos might be from last year or the year before, I did my due diligence on these videos and can say that the cameras I suggested in those posts would still perform really great and really well today. And they might even be cheaper because cameras always depreciate. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Jojo and I like to help bloggers grow their blogs and also just live a life of simplicity. If that's your thing, please subscribe and please like this video if you found it really helpful. If you're looking for free resources, I've got a free resource library that you can sign up for. All details will be in the next clip. And if you're interested in up-leveling your blogging game, then you can check out my course, the Bold Blogger Academy, and the link will be down below too. Thank you so much for watching again. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!